And welcome back to the online portion of our Phoenix Mayoral Debate with candidates Kate Gallego and Daniel Valenzuela. Lots of things left to talk about we didn't get to in the main segment. Let's start with a yes-no question. Climate change. Is human-caused climate change one of the leading reasons for Arizona's historic drought? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about one of the big impacts, water. Kate Gallego, you said recently, Phoenix's water supply keeps me up at night.
That is absolutely
Why
true.
does it keep you up at night?
We are in a significant drought, particularly on the Colorado River system. The northern part of our city relies on the Colorado River system. It is a top duty of local government to make sure we're providing that clean water, and the economic impact could be devastating if there are national or even international headlines saying Phoenix can't supply its residents with water. I believe that the problems with the Colorado River are only going to continue. We've made some early steps towards a deal, but there is a long regional conversation that will happen over the next decade and the next century. We also don't have the infrastructure we need to move water to the northern part of our city in the case of a drought, and those will be difficult conversations, and again, more construction coming.
Okay, more construction and more taxes coming to pay for that construction, to get water from the ground that's been banked to the northern area of Phoenix, which is supplied by the Colorado River water. Do I have that right?
Correct. So while I didn't support a property tax increase that we've been discussing, I absolutely supported that additional dollars to invest in that water infrastructure. It is a key function of local government.
Did you support this water rate increase?
Yes, it was a responsible thing to do. We know that we have to move water to the northern part of the city. And I think we all need to understand that this is going to be an ongoing issue. This is water. We are in the desert. I think we as Phoenicians have been good stewards with water. We can get better. I mean, just a couple generations ago, in the mid-'80s, we were using more than 20%, up to 27% of groundwater. Today, it's 3 to 5%. The infrastructure, the large investment that was made by the City Council, or that was approved by the City Council, I would have liked to have seen more technology used in our infrastructure.
What does that mean, more technology?
Well, I want a smarter city, Brahm, so I led on economic development and technology innovation. So we shouldn't be notified when there's a leak in our city, right? So we had thousands of leaks last year. If we're notified, rather than Mr. or Mrs. Smith walking their dog, seeing a puddle, hoping they call it in, right? If we get better at that, then it's less construction costs, it's less repair, and we're saving water, we're saving money. That's money that we could be saving that helps us with other infrastructure needs.
And let's talk about money, because one of the things we're seeing in this water deal that the state negotiated, which still isn't a done deal, there's some last minute problems with that, and who knows how that's going to turn out. But one of the things we're seeing there is it costs a lot of money to make these kinds of water deals, to pay different people off, not to grow crops, not to do lots of things, to buy water for one group or another. So what about the cost? And let's start with the water rates. They're projected to go, well, they're now going up for the next 2 years, likely to go up as far as we can see. Isn't that correct?
We do need to be responsible about understanding the impact that these bills have on our community. The city has created a rate structure so that low-income residents can have a fairly affordable rate for the water they need for indoor use, because you need to be able to bathe your children, drink water. Outdoor water use does get more expensive. The idea is to incentivize conservation. So we have to be smart about price signals. The city conducted an extensive national study of our water rates compared to other communities. We are still among the most cost-effective in the entire
We
region.
have one of the lowest water rates in the country.
We do.
And we're in the desert, and we're running out of water. Isn't something wrong with that picture?
Part of it is that people who came before us, particularly with the Salt River Project, developed a very smart gravity-fed system that is more cost-effective. The Colorado River system is not a gravity-fed system. You have to pay to pump water uphill. It is a much more expensive system, and the future water supplies are going to be more expensive. So conservation needs to be essential. We can do more to conserve water, and that has to be a top priority.
And that was the answer I was looking for. Future water supplies, it's going to cost residents more to buy water.
We have to be prepared that we are in a long-term drought.
You agree with that?
Do
you accept that?
Well, it starts with transparency. I think a lot of people may understand. We know we need water. Infrastructure is not going to last forever, right? And we have to do the best we can to with the funding that we have to be future thinking. Again, technology and how we save money, that kind of thing. But Brahm, I don't think it's going to be to anyone's surprise that we need to continue delivering water throughout our city. And I think the more transparency we put out there and we invite people in to understand what it is that we are paying for and how long this may last, I think we're going to get more buy-in. You just mentioned we have one of the lowest water rates.
Transparency here. Do you think these water rate increases are going to last for quite a while?
Well, probably not. I mean, what's quite a while? I'm not
10 years. Because there's another agreement to negotiate in 2026.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful and not say, yes, it's going to. What I will tell you, Brahm, is I support this increase. It wasn't something that I just immediately jumped to. I think it's fair to have this type of a dialogue, but with everyone and policymakers. And we have to figure out a way. We have to be realistic. We know we're going to have to pay more for infrastructure in the future. What can we do now to save money to provide for that type of infrastructure?
Okay, another long-term issue behind us and looking ahead. The city has a pretty much permanent structural budget deficit because of what the cost of public safety pensions. Every year there's some kind of maneuver to kick the can down the road. What is the long-term solution here? Because it seems if a recession hits during one of your terms, which appears pretty likely, how much trouble is Phoenix going to be in, given the pension payment it has to deal with? And more specifically, what services or city functions do you think should be cut or greatly reduced? That's the question I have, because it seems like we're going to get to that.
Okay.
Which services should be cut or greatly reduced?
Well, ideally, we're not cutting any services. When this city hit a recession, neither of us were on the city council. Our city employees had to give back $100 million out of their salaries. We are running on our leanest government in 40 years. I mean, the city is really cut, right? So that said, it's caused the city to become more innovative. I'm proud to say that I've led on pension reform. That's the fix, Brahm.
Even the fix that's done now, that was recently passed, is not a fix. It chips away at the problem. But back to the question: are there right now, just sitting here, are there city services you think we could do without, or somehow, or at least reduce?
I want to add city services.
Okay.
Okay. But now the pension crisis, though, we are saving $1 billion over 20 years on the City of Phoenix pension system, and I co-chaired the PSPRS, the Public Safety Pension, Prop 124 with Debbie Lesko, that is bringing reforms there. But we're talking pension, so it's going to take 20 years, Brahm. But this city is already, and taxpayers are saving millions of dollars already.
Was Prop 124 a solution to the city's pension problem?
The pension is still 40% funded. We have a lot of work to do. And
so, same question I have for Daniel Valenzuela. Is there a service, something the city should just stop paying for or stop doing? Because, again, you have a structural budget deficit. Spend more than we have coming in, and you have to find a way to deal with it. Is there anything the city should get rid of?
Well, first, we have to pay our existing pension obligations, both morally and constitutionally. Our city employees work hard for us, and we've made that commitment. But we have to look going forward. I also think that we need to look at additional revenue. It is quite likely that adult use marijuana will be on the ballot in 2020. I have already met with some of the individuals who are part of that campaign and said to them, please think of public safety when you talk about where the additional tax dollars could go. Unfortunately, in the past, the public safety pension system invested in some stocks that went to zero. So they're never going to recover. Assets that we're never getting back. That should not be the responsibility of my children, and so we need to do better about funding it, but I think additional revenue can be part of on the table. We also need to look at things like our overtime and staffing practices to make sure we're being as responsible as possible.
Okay, hold that thought on legalizing pot. Yes or no? Do you support legalizing pot? Would you support it if it comes to the ballot in 2020?
So I have a family member who's using medical marijuana now, suffering from cancer. It has been very eye-opening to me and very helpful to see that recovery. I will really need to look at the details of the initiative. I think my responsibility as mayor is to look at how does it impact the city? What control do we have over zoning? Where does the revenue go? Some of these costs are on the city, some of the revenue should go to the city.
Would you support legalizing marijuana?
This is one where I see eye to eye with Kate. I also support medical marijuana. We would have to see how this impacts our city. And I would also want to get ahead of the conversation and figure out where that funding is going to go. It should go to public safety. It should go to solving this homeless issue that we have. We're dealing with an opioid epidemic. We are dealing with street repair. I mean, so how do we maximize this for the people of Phoenix? And again,
so undecided, but you both seem to see it as a potential source of revenue. Am I right?
I see it as something that ultimately will be on the ballot, and we have to be at that table. And I have proven to be someone who is not afraid to bring people together to solve real problems. And this is one that's coming our way. And it's a problem/opportunity.
Okay. Question for you both. And I will start with you, Kate Gallego. You've done about 30 of these. You can recite each other's lines. So I don't know if there's an answer to this, but I'm going to ask it. Can you, Kate Gallego, tell us one thing, Daniel Valenzuela, a question he has not answered to your satisfaction?
Throughout this campaign, we have talked about a bunch of different ideas of new revenue. Councilman Valenzuela has said he would be open to increasing the tax for parks and preserves initiatives, a new funding source for historic preservation, a new funding source for arts, and I'd like to see priorities. It just seems like sometimes we need to say no.
Say no. A question former Councilwoman Gallego has not answered to your satisfaction in these debates.
Well, it goes back to that important vote that, in 2016, 2 years after working so hard to lift the hiring freeze of first responders, going back to that night, you probably were there. It was widely covered, and what it meant for everyone, not just public safety, but our libraries, our parks, the arts, street repair, but heavily our public safety departments were reliant on it, and we were there. And to now hear that everything in that budget was supported, but not the funding source, I don't think that's a fair. I don't think that was a fair answer.
The arena.
Pardon me?
At the time, I said we need to prioritize. I want to get out of the business of funding professional sports arenas, and we should take that money and spend it elsewhere.
Was that in this debate, in that vote?
So I put out a statement, absolutely, during that debate, saying we really need to focus. We can't do everything. We should prioritize. First responders are more important than subsidies for professional sports teams owners.
Okay.
That was not the arena. Never came up in the debate. I did read the vice mayor's at the time, statement, a funding source. We should find a funding source, and I don't know how many things we're going to pay with this one pot of money. That seems to be the answer every time we need a new service. It's not realistic. Governing is hard work. Local governing is hard work. It's all about problem solving. It's all about coalition building. It's all about moving our city forward and making tough decisions.
All right. Good to end it there. Kate Gallego, Daniel Valenzuela, thanks so much. Best of luck to both of you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us. And again, please go out and vote. Ballots should be in your mailbox.